minute. Tell me
Get some
about
more light bulb in there.
Tell me about what happened up there.
Dude, it was life or death. It was free climbing. It was a life or death moment.
What happened?
I scaled free all the way up the inside pole of the scaffold there to the very top and dropped a shackle over the top post.
And what happened?
Well, I slipped on the second one. On the way back down, it was really wet.
Traffic on Cape, we've departed Spalding Harbor. We're bound for Port Townsend.
Welcome back to this episode of Raising Caper, the story of 4 high school friends from Edmonds, Washington that are challenging near impossible odds, restoring an old 100-foot boat and converting it into a roaming bar and restaurant in the Pacific Northwest. Did we mention we are just 30 years old with no experience owning and running a boat of this size? Watch us redefine what it means to be in over our heads.
Okay, so welcome back to Raising Caper episode 9. On this episode, we are going to show you
our fort.
Our fort.
We had fort.
One of many forts. We built a few forts.
Yes, we had to begin construction of the fort because basically the most important aspect of sandblasting in the eyes of the local government is containment, and basically all the toxic paint from dating back from 1973 had to come off, and we had to do everything we possibly could to prevent any of the contamination reaching our local waters.
We couldn't let a speck out of our containment unit, not the tiniest amount. It was like radioactive material. It would hit the ground and everybody would swarm.
Okay.
We'd get it clean.
So the thing is, we didn't really know what we were doing, and we went and got some pretty expensive scaffolding that costs about $1,000 a week. But
Bird scaffolding.
We learned from that. Although I don't know that we'll ever really be able to apply that lesson in the future. Nonetheless, we started the construction of the scaffolding, so that's what you're going to see up first.
Which, by the way, was probably most of our favorite times were either climbing the scaffolding, taking the scaffolding down, putting the scaffolding up. It was like building a giant jungle gym. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah, an adult jungle gym that if you would have fallen, you would have died.
Yeah, being like 4 stories up. It was pretty cool. I liked it.
All right, I think it's a good intro. I don't know.
Are we introduced now?
I think we are introduced.
Episode 9!
Episode 9. Let it commence.
Number 9. Number 9.
Good morning, Port Townsend. Looks like we're getting a new neighbor in the boatyard.
All right, good morning. It's November 6th. We're standing in front of the caper
In all its glory.
It's week 2, day number 8, being on the hard. I'll give you a quick tour of the work site. We got ourselves a container yesterday. We're getting ready to, in anticipation of needing about 20 tons of garnet material for the abrasive blasting. We got ourselves a porta potty, which was actually pretty cheap, and it saves a lot of time going back and forth to the head. Well, good morning. It's November. It's the first Monday, Cyber Monday, the first Monday after Thanksgiving. Heading over to the ferry terminal to take the Seattle Bainbridge Island ferry. It is pouring down rain this morning, and it's shaping up definitely to be a wet one. Today we've got scaffolding people arriving at the island caper, so it's a very crucial day, and hopefully we'll be able to film some of the action and solve whatever problems I'm sure are going to arise, because it's a boat and nothing ever goes easy. Doing today?
We are overseeing building a scaffold. Make a bigger building.
Describe the conditions.
The conditions are, I think 40+ mile-an-hour winds. It's very windy. It's warm though. It's warm and windy, which is nice. As you can see by the steam from the paper mill, it's really fucking windy.
Yep.
Kenny's microphone just blew off. Berg Scaffolding out of Seattle is erecting a scaffold structure. I'm assuming these are the trusses. Not really sure, but they're gonna build a whole. When they leave and they're done, theoretically, all we need to do is pad the hard angles of the structure and shrink wrap it and secure the whole motherfucker down to the ground. These ain't even ecology blocks, man. These are bigger than ecology blocks, you know what I'm saying? Like these are the big ones. Big Daddy Kane ecology blocks. And but I think Kenny and I are gonna go up in the boat and we have to take the fucking mast down, dude, in this wind. We've gotta be all up there exposed and shit. Fucking get all the radars and antennas off. It's gonna suck a lot. I need more coffee to do that. I had to pay for 3 coffees at once to avoid the 50-cent fee on purchases less than $5. So, fuck, dude, this is a great place to stand.
Yeah.
Alright, so the first thing we had to do after getting the boat blocked, making a big mess around the boat, was clear the space and get Berg Scaffolding, which was a bunch of semi-trucks full of jungle gym equipment essentially, out and begin erecting the, what was it, 3.5 stories? About 3.5 story structure around our whole boat. People just kept walking past us looking at them. What are they doing? But yeah, and then we had to, that way we could shrink wrap it and keep the whales and birdies safe from all the bad paint on it. And avoid massive EPA fines.
We're putting up some temporary rigging.
Why?
To guy off the top of this structure. We're 3 stories high on the scaffold in the middle, so we got 60 mile-an-hour winds all through the night, so we're gonna cable it off to a couple of these big ass ecology blocks. I'm not sure what they weigh, but it's a lot. You know what I mean?
Permanently square. I don't know if you want to use that rope again.
Cold Amp Steel.
What's our product?
Samson Amp Steel Blue. This rope here.
Yeah.
Lifting this shit, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, go slow.
Dude, that boat, it's like this. Oh my gosh. I really immediately or we may die of exposure. It's very windy. God, wouldn't have made it otherwise. Oh.
Wow, this is way nicer.
Oh.
I can actually film from in here and not damage my camera. Alright, recap.
He was angry today, my friends. Well, blew a gale all day. Had fenders explode on the lower rows this morning, and Kenny and I went down and doubled up the lines, added 3 fenders. The boat's heeled over 10 degrees and slipped.
Perfect.
Oh my god. Half our scaffold structure was erected today. We're about to guy it down with some long steel cables all the way up to the top, 40 feet above us. Kenny's gonna free climb with no OSHA safety gear whatsoever to the top and secure the guys. And Wednesday we're gonna shrink wrap this place so the wind isn't still blowing. It's incredibly strong wind right now. Storm warning in effect. That's what happened today.
So how do you feel about the project right now?
We're doing some shit, man. We've never done something with so much shit. Such a big project. We're building this massive building this week around the caper. Big ass building. We got a forklift for the week. All of this shit is us right here. All this motherfucking shit all up in here. All this is our shit. We're making our shit go down. And then we're gonna start sandblasting on Monday next week.
So if you were to send a message to yourself, you know, like if you're like 80 years old looking back at this, what would you say about how you feel about this project right
I'd
now?
say. Oh wait, what did you say?
How do you feel about, is this not the largest project you've ever done?
This is the biggest project I've ever done by a significant margin. It's huge. Many moving parts, but nothing ventured, nothing gained, you know. Today I woke up and I was like, yeah, I get to go do exactly what I want. I get to go work on a boat. Make some shit happen. So, I haven't worked yet today. What do you think about it like that?
It'll work. And then and then we'll just drop it over the top and right down.
I can do it if you want. There.
So late at night when we realized that the scaffolding wasn't fully secured, we realized that we had to put up cabling over the very top, and it just so happened to be a very windy night. So Tom, the one with only one hand, was the one that chose to climb to the very top very safely and secure a cable.
So the purpose of this cabling, by the way, in case you're wondering, is just in case the wind were to come up, we wanted something secured to the scaffolding to keep it from turning it into noodle pie.
It's like tying your tent down to tent stakes.
Exactly, and those equal blocks are pretty big.
We sold them back before.
Yep.
Very cheap.
And I think this was one of the first of many nights where we worked really late into the night doing things that were questionable on the scaffolding. But
we wouldn't have been able to do a good 30% of this project without headlamps.
Yeah.
Dude, it was life or death. It was free climbing. It was a life or death moment.
What happened?
I scaled free all the way up the inside pole of the scaffold there to the very top and dropped a shackle over the top post and climbed back down on both sides.
And what happened?
Well, I slipped. on the second one, on the way back down, it was really wet and covered in salt spray and rain.
It's so,
and I slipped, and then I got off on...
So how's that feel?
Felt really shitty that I was shaking when I got down. It was like, that moment, I was like, fuck, dude, I gotta... If I fall, I'll either be severely injured for many months or dead. Worst case scenario, I would be paralyzed, and then Kenny would have to help me commit seppuku. Wouldn't that be shitty, man? I feel bad.
Yeah.
All right, now.
See the scaffolding.
The scaffolding was not being erected square.
True.
To the transom of the boat. So that what happened is it was too skinny at the stern. So the boat, you know, it starts skinny. It's about 18 feet wide at the stern, 22 feet wide in the middle, and then it tapers back down.
So everything was going great until
Wreck and scratch.
basically we had a plan of pointing the scaffolding into the wind, basically just following the lines of the boat. And what's really critical about the scaffolding is that it needed to be the correct distance away from the boat so that we could actually work from the scaffolding when we're trying to sandblast and paint the freeboard. And what happened was basically...
Hold your hands up like this.
Basically, the scaffolding got built like this initially, and we had to ask them to rebuild it, which the company really, they were not happy about it because
the laborers were not.
They had gone pretty far when we realized what was happening. And so
with a bunch of Fijian dudes that were pretty cool, but they got mad at us, and we learned what bula bula means. And then yeah.
And then they fixed it, and then they fixed it wrong.
How did they fix it wrong?
It was never properly aligned.
Yeah, they messed it up again.
Adjusted it.
And then even with the finished product, the boat was still at a weird little can. So parts of working on the boat were like this.
Yeah.
And then we picked it up with the forklift that we had at the time and slightly adjusted it with the forklift.
Oh yeah, we moved the whole structure ourselves.
Did we get that on film?
I don't know.
I don't think we did.
We're awesome though.
We currently don't have power to the boat because
Dan
ran over the shore power cord, which is fine. Then it pulled out, which is also fine, but when it pulled out, it tripped the fuse. And it's got this crazy adapter shit on there, like, I don't know. We're worried we'll plug it in wrong and then just fucking motors will be running backwards and shit, you know? Yeah. So Dan's going to find the electrician. I believe his name is Kyle? Keith? Vince? Something like that?
Chad. Dave?
John, Ringo.
Brian. Johnny Ringo?
The other thing that we had to do while we were, as we were putting in the scaffolding, is we needed to put the plywood pieces down. And why do we need the plywood?
Well, we had the blue tarp.
Yep.
And then we had the plywood down. And then we had to secure a thicker gauge floor tarp that was woven. That way things wouldn't bash it, puncture a hole, and go into the sand.
Yep. So
and destroy the environment.
Unfortunately, we did not think ahead, and we didn't put the plywood down before the scaffolding went up, because they could have just followed those lines if we would have done that, but we didn't. And so we had to go around with the forklift and manually put that in.
That was sketchy. The whole thing bowed and flexed like it was going to come down low.
Yep.
I mean, totally safe.
Yep.
Everything we did was safe.
Yeah. Right?
You say normal.
We're at the Evans Ferry dock, coming back from Kingston, coming back from Port Townsend at the end of the week.
It's Friday.
Week 4 is over.
And there's some amazing, amazing sunset.
Very nice. Very, very nice.
So up here taking the mast off, because the scaffolding finally reaches over the entirety of the boat.
whatever the crew had earlier this week. I think I'm getting really bad migraine.
Nah. I want to grind it to smithereens.
Grind that stainless steel right out.
I tore a muscle in my butt.
Oh man. This is the Patreon-exclusive part of the update.
I couldn't even put my leg down. I thought I had pooper cancer.
Hey, why don't we give a raunchy mural version of events of the scaffolding going up? So just for the Patreons.
So the scaffolding went up and it was huge. It was with a bunch of Fijian dudes that were pretty cool, but they got mad at us, and we learned what bula bula means. And then yeah, but I was a blast to like climb all over. It was like a giant grown-up jungle gym that could have killed you.
Yeah.
Very enticing.
I think the key was to not get too comfortable.
I almost fell a couple times.
Yeah, me
And then we
too.
got to shrink wrap the whole thing, fucking tighter than a